This is Alabama Politics with Steve Flowers, an in-depth interview with Alabama's top political newsmakers. Now, from the studios of Troy University, here is Steve Flowers.
I'm Steve Flowers, and welcome to Alabama Politics. Folks, you folks in the River Region, in for a treat tonight. We've got the popular, still young, and progressive mayor of the Alabama's fastest growing city, Pike Road, Alabama. Jordan Stone has been there for 4 terms now and is building, I guess, the fastest growing city in Alabama, isn't it?
We have been 3 out of the last 5 years.
Yeah. Gordon, good to have you on the show.
Thank you, Steve. Always good to be here.
I've known Gordon quite a few years. I knew Ellen, his wife, when she first got out of school, and knew his father-in-law, who was superintendent of schools in Ozark, when I represented that part of the area in the legislature, and they've got 2 beautiful daughters.
Well, thank you.
About grown now, aren't they?
2, one with working on a master's at college, the other one graduating soon and headed to law school.
Did your older daughter go to the main campus, Troy?
Yes, my older daughter she's a Trojan on her 5th year of her Trojan experience, doing great.
And Jack Hawkins is one of your constituents.
Dr. Hawkins is a phenomenal leader. You know, in my real world job, I represent all the universities, and of the 14 great institutions that I have the privilege of representing, Dr. Hawkins is the only institutional leader, president or chancellor, still serving, that was there when I was hired.
What year did you start? People don't realize your main job is running the Commission on Higher Education.
Well, the Higher Education Partnership, which is our organization was founded in 1997. 1997 was the year that Ellen and I moved to Pike Road, to the community. When we moved into our home, someone knocked on the door and they said, "Would you sign this petition for annexation?" The first night we slept in our house, for incorporation, I mean. That was 97. And then, and then in 97, our youngest daughter was born. So 97 was, we moved to Pike Road, we signed the petition for incorporation, our youngest daughter was born, and we formed the Higher Education Partnership.
Same year.
That was an interesting year. So a lot of things in our story today really begin in 1997 and go forward.
Yeah. Jack Hawkins, of course, lives at the Waters, and several of the administrators live there.
Yeah, we have a great opportunity because of our location in Pike Road to serve communities who provide jobs with a residential partner. And Troy, certainly we have people who live in Troy. We have people who live in Auburn, who work in Troy, people who work in the Auburn-Opelika area, people who work all over the river region. So it's a blessing to live in such in a community that's so easily accessible because of the road systems that we have. 231 provides a great southeastern corridor, and 85 provides a wonderful northeastern corridor.
Now, the new road that's just been finally completed out there, that's positive for your area, though, isn't it?
You know, when the town was first incorporated, one of the reasons that motivated people to seek to have local voices with meaning was the concern that if the outer loop came through and we didn't have the ability to strategically think about what that would mean and plan for that, then it would be a detriment. But if we could plan for that and build a model for growth that would maintain our character, that it could be an asset. So I like to think that over the last 22 years, we've been able to turn that into a positive thing. We certainly are working closely with the other River Region leadership teams to try to help find federal sources of money so we can continue that on to 231 at least. It is a federal project, so that's why we have to use federal dollars. But it's it will provide us with another great transportation route for our residents, and frankly, because of the way we put our planning model together, shouldn't greatly impact the character of the community.
So take us back to 1997 when they knocked on your door out there and you were starting the Higher Education Partnership in your professional life, and then did you ever envision that you'd be mayor of Pike Road?
No, we moved to Pike Road, Ellen and I did, because we had one daughter. We were expecting our second daughter. We had a vision of living in a place that had a great history as Pike Road did, because I'm from Pineapple. I grew up in a place that had a great history, and a place where we could have a little opportunity for them to call that home. And then as the town began to successfully incorporate and then formulate its early government, I volunteered and became a part of the council in 2000, and 4 years later was asked if I would be interested in running for mayor. And
what year would you become mayor?
I became mayor in 2004. Wayne Rayburn, who was one of the original incorporators, one of the guys that knocked on doors and went from house to house, helped bring the petitions together, was our first mayor. He stayed 3 years, and then Wayne decided he wanted to lead the planning commission because he wanted to take what he had learned as mayor and help build that original planning model. And so one of our council members, Miss Judy Rittenauer, stepped up and served as mayor. That was the year I came on the council. So I served with Wayne on the planning commission as the council representative to that. And then 4 years later, we had about 40 people who came to see us and wanted to be brought into the town. They did not contiguously touch the town with their property at that time. So I, as a council member, I asked Miss Judy, I said, well, shouldn't we explore the ways we could get them in, because they do live at the Pike Road, in the Pike Road community. They get their mail at the 36064 zip code, so we ought to at least try. We discovered that there were 3 ways to annex property, and the contiguous nature where the council could just vote on it based on the landowner's permission was the easiest way, but that wouldn't qualify. So the other ways included a referendum, but you had to meet all kind of very specific conditions, so referendum wouldn't work. And so we had to go to the third route, which was the legislative annexation route. We had lots of good friends in the legislature, and because all of our people wanted to be in, they were all asking to be in, they granted them the chance to be in. And so we went from 350 people to 1,300 people overnight. Well, as Miss Judy saw that process beginning to occur, she said, I don't think I want to continue to be mayor. Since you've helped organize that, why don't you do the mayor role? And I'll never forget, I went home and told Ellen, I said, well, Miss Judy asked me if I'd run for mayor. I told her I would, because we just meet once a month down in the church. And now it's certainly grown and been a wonderful experience. Well, we went to 1,300 right after I became mayor. The legislative bill passed in November of that year, and I had been sworn in October.
Gordon, let me ask you this: and when the town was incorporated, was it 97? Or when
it's 97, and the credit for all that's happened in Pike Road, Steve, is exemplified by that first effort. Grassroots people who believe in their community, who wanted their voice to have meaning, who believed that they could create a meaningful, special place, or take a meaningful and special place and create a way for it to sustain. Those grassroots people made it happen with the incorporation. They're the same people that are making it happen today.
Same ones. Gordon, now, when y'all first started, tell our viewers what the geographic area of that Pike Road incorporates, if you can, parameter-wise. You've got a lot of land.
Well, when we first started,
you got Bubba Trotman's land.
When we first started, we went from a parcel or two right there where the historic Pike Road and Merriweather and Wallahatchie come together. That's the historic center of Pike Road. And then we went down Merriweather toward Highway 231 for about 2 miles. Then over time, when we had the legislative annexation in 2004, we then went from there across a crescent, if you would, of the eastern part of Montgomery County that took us all the way up to the Wall community and touched parts of the Mount Meigs community, the Mary community, the Cecil community, the McDade community.
Did you take those in?
The Matthews community, and all around.
Are they all in your town now? All those?
We're 16 miles wide and 10 miles deep.
So any growth in Montgomery County has just about got to be there.
Well, there's still some areas in our geography in that area that are still in the county, because one of the decisions that we made early on was we weren't going to force anybody to be a part of what we were doing, that they could come in as they wanted to. The exciting thing about that is that we rarely have a month that goes by that people aren't asking to be included. So that you've seen that grow from 12 different little kind of scattered parcels in 2004 to now 4 big parcels, and that's growing together every month. So
How do you set up your master plan?
well, I'll go back to what I said earlier, Steve. It was all about the people then. It's been all about the people in 04 and 05. As we began to realize we had grown, and I had come into the role as mayor, and I'd never envisioned being mayor. And Charlene Rayburn, who was one of those original petition workers, was our town clerk, and she and I and some others said we need to get some. We need to find out how the great places became great. So we looked at Brentwood, Tennessee. We looked at Franklin, Tennessee. We looked at Fairhope. We looked at Sarasota, Florida, Leander, Texas, places outside of Charleston, South Carolina, and we found out that those folks were using municipal planners. And so we connected with a group of folks that actually, the original group was from Miami, Florida, Albuquerque, New Mexico, and Providence, Rhode Island. And they came in and helped us design our zoning methodologies, looked at our whole area and did a land use plan. And then quickly they handed it off to a couple of guys out of Nashville who were young, energetic, enthusiastic guys that worked for Metro Nashville, who had an office in Franklin. And they began to work with us to put together maps, to put together visuals of what a neighborhood could look like, what different kinds of neighborhoods could look like, what should be done in those community areas, those what we call now our town centers, because our goal has never been, and it came from their input and the wisdom of those citizens who, and I would say now the 10,000 citizens are still involved. So even though it was a smaller group, it's still citizen input. But they helped us put together a model where we went around over 200 local meetings, and we designed a plan that said, don't worry about a downtown Pike Road. Take all those communities that have been historically significant, because the history of our area, Steve, goes all the way back to the federal road came through Pike Road.
Meriwether Trail.
And so when you think about that, we said, let's take those historic communities, let's encourage each one to be its own town center or kind of village, if you would, and have hubs of different communities within the umbrella of the town, yet do some things to encourage them to connect. That's what led us to going from just the plan to what would connect people the most. Well, one of the things that we did right after our 04 growth was in 05, we held a town hall meeting, invited everybody to come, and they told us they wanted us to work on 4 things. And planning obviously was one of them. Know where you're going, what you're going to look like when you get there. Number 2 was education. Because many of the original incorporators remembered the Pike Road School and how important it was to the community and bringing people together.
It was part of the Montgomery County School.
It was part of the Montgomery County School system, but it brought those people in that area together. They rallied around that school. Number 3 was have good quality of life programming, and number 4 was to have good services. So we set out a plan using the planner's help to try to do those things. And today, if you look at where we are, we've got an enormous menu of quality of life programming through our Enhance initiative that touches everything from agriculture to recreation to art to business growth, business networking. We touch all of those through our community development program. We have services that I would match against anybody. We have 2 gas line providers, 2 sewer providers, multiple electric sources. Southeast Alabama Gas and Spire are both in Pike Road. So what we have is an opportunity.
Is it all covered by Dixie?
Dixie and Alabama Power.
Both of them are
both in Pike Road. So we have a lot of.
I was involved with that territorial legislation, and they all were together on where they'd be. So you can't change that.
Right, but we touch both territories. So in the end of the day, our services have matured wonderfully. Our quality of life programming continues to grow. Our school system has been an amazing story, and our planning model, we continue to enhance it every day also. So what those original incorporators in 1997 said they wanted to have happen has happened many times over, because we continue to listen to people, we continue to ask them for their input, and then we continue to reach out and touch great partnerships.
You also have that helps on retain with it. It helps you plan.
We have great professional service in every area that we just mentioned that are there to help us continue to learn, continue to expand our horizons, so we don't just get caught up in what we're doing, but we're always thinking. We like to say that we want to have one eye on 25 years down the road and one eye on practical daily decisions. But every time you make a daily decision, you got to remember to move another day forward with that vision, because you don't ever want to get to the point where your vision and your daily decisions collide, because then you've lost sight of how you got there.
Well, let me ask you the obvious question. When you signed a petition
and you became mayor, and y'all have 1,300 people. What is your population now?
10,000.
10,000 people.
Give or take a few.
Wow.
We are excited about the new center.
20 years you've gone from a new city to 10,000 people. Now, one thing I know that the planners mentioned, they mentioned 4 things, but the school had to be a priority.
Well, we call those our pillars. And of those pillars, I don't think you can make one more important than the other, but you do have to recognize that in our region, creating a public school that parents have confidence in gives you a unique opportunity. And that's what we, from the 05, the early efforts when 3 of us sat around a table and wrote out kind of a piece of paper what we thought we could do for a school system, to when we went to the legislature and asked them to help us, and they said, no, not right now, not the school thing. So then we decided, well, we're going to have to form a city system. So we started grassroots again, brought 60 people together, formed a committee. There was at the old town hall, which has been torn down now, but we moved in the new one, but there was a wall, and that whole wall had pieces of paper on it where they wrote out a curriculum and wrote a book on what they wanted in a curriculum for a Pike Road school. That's how much engagement those 60 people had, till when we got connected with Troy University, Albany University, AUM, and Alabama State. And those institutions sent experts to us. That's what led us to figuring out we wanted to do a unique model with the professional development school model. That led us to discovering the P.K. Young School in Gainesville, Florida, which then they started coming up here bringing their ideas to help us in town hall meetings all over the place. That motivated more and more people. People continued to come move in. People continued to annex in. Those people kept getting involved till we finally recognized that we were going to get close to that 5,000 population that state law required you to have to form a school system. As we approached that, we had to do a count. One of the most amazing experiences was when those citizens who have been helping all the way through went door to door. We emulated, with the help of a graduate student at Auburn, we emulated a census count. And we knew in 2009 that we had over 5,000 citizens. So that allowed us,
I apologize.
that's okay. That allowed us, though, to then separate from Montgomery County. And then we had to have revenue. Citizens again went door to door, passed the tax, and now you see that in 4 years, it's an amazing statistical story. It's an amazing real life story. But just hearing this described, I think, Steve, really is pretty phenomenal. We had in 2014 no students. When we formed, the first day we opened the school, the school we were able to build with the tax revenue, we had 850 students in one school, one campus. That same day, we recognized we were going to have a second campus. We went to the historic school site that school had been sold to a church, started negotiating with them, were able to buy that school and renovate it. 2 years after that, we filled that school up. This year we were able to buy the Georgia Washington School from the county. We have now 1,850 kids in our school system.
Now you've got all 12 grades now, don't you?
K-11, we'll add a 12th next year.
Okay.
But we have 1,850 in 4 years. We have 3 campuses, and our school system has 0 capital debt. 0.
Well, how did y'all do that?
Because that revenue that the citizens approved in 2011 has provided us with the resources,
Built
and
the school and everything.
And the town has been good stewards over the years in holding back some dollars. With the combination of those, we've sold 3 bonds, and we've had AA+ ratings on all 3 of them.
Now, what grades are at the Waters School?
The elementary school.
That's what, K through 5?
The elementary school has, I think it's K through 4 right now. 5, 6, and 7 are at the middle school, and 8, 9, 10, and 11 are at or maybe 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 are at the high school. But
the Georgia Washington
the
School.
Georgia Washington campus. But what we will do right now, because the school board is analyzing all that, is they'll look to place those students where it best works with those 3 campuses as we continue to grow and evolve. But we've grown from 20 neighborhoods when we first started our big growth in 2004. We had 20 neighborhoods. Now we have 70.
We had no capacity really to manage our road systems. We had an agreement with the county. Now we have a partner, an outsourced partner that works with our engineer, and we manage all the streets that are city streets. We manage the maintenance of those, but we don't own a dump truck. We don't own a bulldozer.
Oh, you lease it out.
We've been able to outsource that.
Outsource it,
but we have our own crews that can do the in a place like Pike Road, not every street is a city street. Some of them are county and some are state, but the ones that are city. So it's been interesting to be able to watch and observe, learn from partners, see what other cities have done in this modern era, and take the best of what they do and apply it to Pike Road.
Did your planners foresee that you would grow this quickly? Did they have projections?
And a municipal planner's job is to kind of help you lay out the use of the land and the design to maintain your character from a visual perspective and from a use perspective. But then you have to merge that with citizen input and your community connectors, because none of this matters if people don't stay in touch, if they don't relate to the town. That's why it's a great enjoyment for all of us when we hear people say, "Where do you live?" Pike Road. "Where do you live?" Pike Road. Instead of saying, "Where do you live?" Fill in the blank neighborhood. Because if people will live in a neighborhood in Pike Road, it's because they're connecting with the greater community.
And they've grown away from Matthews or Wall.
Well, no, they'd still say that, but oftentimes you hear, and I hear a lot of the conversations, people say, "Oh, I live in X in Pike Road."
Right.
And what we want to do with our community involvement programming is to continue to have that sense of connecting people together. We still have a great community club, a great civic organization in the area that's been there historically. They still have a wonderful arts and crafts fair. We still have our 4th of July parade. We've tried to keep those traditions, but we've added a Summerfest 4th of July evening fireworks show to continue to bring people together. We have a trail network that connects from 231 all the way through to Marler Road, and they're building those segments every year. We're adding a new segment to that. That's going to be like a golf trail on a golf course, connecting neighborhoods.
Gordon, let me ask you this question. Montgomery County and this river region has been known as one of the most important things of military installations and military families and retired military. Are y'all getting a lot of?
We have a wonderful relationship with General Cotton. We had a wonderful relationship with General Quast before that.
Are y'all getting a lot of the people over there?
We work closely with them to make sure that when people come here to reside at the Air University or to take any of their leadership programming, we want to make sure that they know that Pike Road is an option. We're not out there promoting Pike Road as better than somebody else. That's not our job. Our job is simply to say, when you're choosing, we'd love to invite you to come see us.
Are you getting a lot of people from
our population is interestingly diverse. We have a cross section of ethnic engagement in Pike Road. We have a cross section of economic engagement in Pike Road. We've got people who work in every phase of professional work. It's an amazing blend of people, and I'll tell people all the time. People I see at church, people I see in out at eating out. If you think you are interested in Pike Road, look at the whole community, because by the time you finish, you're going to find something you relate to, and that's a wonderful thing. That I don't take credit for that. None of this is because I've been the mayor. This has just been an amazing convergence of things that God has blessed us with.
One of the things that I think probably your citizens are yearning for, I don't know this, is more retail, especially grocery stores.
Well, we have
a big chain will come eventually, won't they?
One of the things that we understand is that your goal.
There's some good tax base in that too, isn't there?
Your goal is to sustain the special nature of your community and build opportunities for progress that don't sacrifice that. So one of the things that we know with each of those town centers, whether it be Wall, whether it be Mount Meigs Mary, whether it be historic Pike Road, whether it be over off of Trotman Road, whether it be Cecil, all of those places have built into their model locations for retail, for professional, for office, and even for some types of business, job producers. So what we're doing with our economic development, our community development program, is we're touching every possible arena. We travel to the national shows, we travel to the regional shows, we work with our local vendors. For instance, we're working with AUM right now and starting an entrepreneurship education program in Pike Road. We actually have a location identified. We want to call it our Entrepreneurial Center, because we have so many young people with so many ideas, and the digital age has changed things such that they can create industry and business right there, so it's organically grown. While at the same time, we understand the best locations for a traditional kind of town center. It would include grocery stores and pharmacies and hardware stores and all of that. One of the things that's interesting in this modern 2019, 2020, 21, 25, as we move forward, is going to be how the digital economy impacts the location of box stores. One of the things we're finding out as we talk to more and more vendors is that they're trying to measure the online shopping versus the size of the brick and mortar. And so we're finding our growth to be a wonderful asset and our opportunities to be enormous, but we're hitting it at an interesting time where many of your traditional name providers in retail are reevaluating their strategies. So for us, just like everything else we've done, when we first started, we adopted Smart Code as a zoning tool to go along with conventional codes. That allows mixed use throughout Pike Road. Nobody had ever done that before. It was the perfect time for us to bring that to the forefront. We were able to do that, thankfully. We're going to see some innovative retail opportunities in Pike Road because the timing is going to be such that we're going to hit it right as that's starting to break. Mm-hmm. You can't rush that though, because it has to be the right connection of investors, has to be the right combination of product, has to be something that will meet convenience and meet demand. So our job, just like we never went out and said we want 70 neighborhoods. We said we want to have great neighborhoods. Right. And 70 has happened. That's the same thing we're doing with retail, with business. We're not saying we want X number of stores and X number of locations. We're saying here's the opportunity. Let's do it, and once it hits, it's going to be another really neat story to be a part of. The schools have been a neat story. The growth has been a neat story. You know, we have a transportation plan adopted for the whole area, and that has been a really cool way for us to. We now meet every other month with the Department of Transportation at the state level.
It's the fast-growing place in Alabama.
Lots of wonderful opportunities.
Well, our time's up, Gordon. I thank you for being with us tonight, and we thank our viewers for watching Alabama Politics. We've had the mayor of Pike Road, Mr. Gordon Stone, as our guest. We'll have him back on again and keep y'all posted on the growth of the fast-growing city in Alabama is right here in Montgomery County. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Steve. Good to see you.